Yes, you are listening to 99.3 FM Sunbury Radio, and you just heard So Much More by Ed Jackson. And with a little bit of luck, I should hopefully have Ed on the line. Hello, Ed. Can you hear us?
G'day, Dean.
Hello. Welcome to Sunbury Radio.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, and hello to everyone from Sunbury, Diggers Rest, South Gisborne and T-Vale.
Oh, looks somebody's been doing their map search.
Well, you've set me a lot of challenges this week, Dean, so I had to be prepared for my first outing out of prison.
Yeah, well, or a radio studio anyway.
That's right.
Yes. So, we just heard So Much More then. It's got a really great vibe to it, that track. You happy with how that's being received so far?
Yeah, this has been a great track to work on. It's a song that I went into the studio without any idea of which way the music was going to work, and it was just a set of lyrics and a few melody ideas, and worked the song up with my producer, Alexi Piggott, and he did a lot of the instrumentation, so it's a real co-write, and we ended up landing with a country sound, a sort of Americana vibe, and then, using the slide guitar and double bass and a bit of cello. We were really happy with the result, and very lucky to have it played on radio here in Australia, thanks to the Community Radio Network, and also a couple of slots overseas in Canada and the US, so it's been great. And also just blessed with a nomination out of the Tamworth Songwriters Association. So that was we're a semi-finalist in that for the novice songwriting contest. So yeah, so far so good, and really happy to play
Fantastic,
that.
yeah.
So thanks for giving it a spin.
Not a problem. So is that sort of a direction you see yourself heading into more and more? Some of the country type Americana sound? I
think so. I think it really suits our storytelling, which is always pretty heartfelt. We sing about love won, love lost, and we put our hearts and souls on the line, and I think listening to more and more country music, as I have been doing over the last couple of years, I find that some of the most honest songwriters in the business, so I'm leaning towards that. Our previous song, Let You Go, which you played first, was kind of had an Americana sound, and we didn't realise that at the time, but a few people said to us, oh, this is Americana, so then we sort of pushed that further with So Much More and really dipped our toes right into the world of country, and the response has been terrific. It's a very interesting bunch of people that listen to country music, and also the artists and writers that do it, so enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Americana is one of those interesting genres, isn't it, where so many things can get labelled that, but I think it's really about, like you say, if it's honest songwriting, and that's probably the really key thing to it.
Yeah, I think Americana can sort of move between folk and blues and country and acoustic. It's sort of quite a fluid genre, it seems, but I think at the core is that really honest, heart storytelling, often about the little guy and someone that's missed in society but still has an important story to tell. So, yeah, it's a genre that I think we'll stick with.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your sort of music journey. Have you always had a love of music, or is it something that's developed a bit later on in your life?
Yeah, I've always had a love of music since I discovered my parents' vinyl collection at the age of 14, so they'd hidden that away in the house at the age of cassettes, and I found the vinyl with a mate, and we stayed up all night listening to different Lou Reed albums and Bob Dylan albums, and also some... when John Lennon went solo, we listened to a lot of his solo stuff, and I think that's when I first had a real passion for music. But only have been writing my own songs for about 4 or 5 years, writing and recording and releasing, so I'm relatively new to actually performing and recording, but I've always had a love for music, and really going for it now, trying to put out 3 to 4 songs every year, and with an album hopefully coming up the end of 2020.
Oh, fantastic. So is that sort of going to sort of collect what you've already got out there, or are you hoping to get some new stuff as well for that?
Yeah, it's been interesting in terms of learning about the way people put out music these days. Rather than coming out with a debut EP or album, it's releasing as you go and putting out singles, testing the waters, and then taking them back into the studio after getting some feedback and after listening to them over 6 months to a year, and then reinventing them. So we're in the process of reinventing a couple in the back catalogue. We'll be re-recording, we'll be redoing vocals, and then looking to have those rearranged through the course of the year. So there's probably 3 or 4 that have already been released, but we'll pull those down and repackage them as an album, and then add in sort of 4 new ones. So we'll probably have 12 in the end, half of which have already been released, but will be substantially rearranged and re-recorded. So that's an exciting process that you can do now when things are digital, and you can pull stuff down, redo it, and then re-upload it.
Yeah,
so that's an exciting process.
Yeah. And so what about so you said you're relatively newly performing. Have you you've been doing some kind of open mic type gigs up in Sydney, I imagine? Yeah,
there's a terrific, vibrant open mic circuit in Sydney. The Sunday sessions are terrific, from sort of 4 to 7 on a Sunday. There's one in Darlinghurst. There's another one, a coal loader, that's just opened in Waverton, so that's an outdoor gig. We've got Wednesday night in Dulwich Hill, Thursday nights at the Rocks, at the Harbour View. So each night of the week there's something on, and that's really the time that we get out there and hone our craft and get feedback from not only other musicians, but the odd stray audience member that might walk in and discover us doing our thing. That's always exciting.
Yeah, and some of your tracks certainly, I think, really would lend themselves to a nice sunny afternoon with a beverage of choice in hand, I'd imagine.
Yeah, thank you. We're certainly trying to tell honest stories that have a heart, but also have hope, and they're uplifting at the end. So we want people to feel good about what we write, and hope and enjoy them with with obviously a cold one in hand.
Indeed. So, so you've said that the album's coming up next. Have you got sort of plans to get on the road or something, or you're just sort of testing the waters with everything at the moment?
Yeah, I think we'll put out the first couple of singles, see how that works, and if there's enough sort of momentum behind it, then absolutely, we'd love to do a sort of an East Coast tour at least, and see how things go. It's always been a dream of ours to do. So I think 2020 could be the year.
Awesome. Well, if you do get down to Melbourne, make sure you let us know, and we'll let all our listeners know where they can hear you perform.
Well, that'd be terrific. I'd love to come into the studio too. Well, we can rename it Ed Jackson's Hill.
Yeah, indeed, yes.
One night only.
Oh, look at this. You've certainly prepared for the show tonight, which is very good. Which actually leads us to something else. I noticed looking at some of your social media that you often like to put up little Spotify playlists around different themes or whatnot, and given a bit of a sucker for music themes as well, that obviously piqued my attention, and so I thought I'd set Ed our first in the Jailhouse Tonight challenge, and I asked Ed to go away and see if he could give us his top 5 songs all about prison. So he's just hot off the press submitted his homework for us, and after we finish the interview a bit later in the show, we might play some of those ones. Ed, how did you find coming up with those tracks for us?
Look, it was actually a real challenge. I spent about a week on this. I had about 30 or 40 prison songs that I knew, jail songs, I suppose, songs about loneliness, and songs about being, I guess, trapped in some way. So you could take prison in a fairly broad context. It could be imprisoned in your mind, but also physically incarcerated. So I actually put the call out to my family and friends and said, look, hit me with your prison songs, and got a whole raft back, some good, mostly bad, and chipped away and found the ones that spoke to me the most. And sometimes they were not the original versions of the songs. I think I found a couple of covers in there that for me personally, were better than the original, and some others that, the first one particularly, Mr. Bojangles by Jerry Jeff Walker. I thought there's been a lot of covers of that song from Robbie Williams and Nina Simone, Cat Stevens, Bob Dylan, etc., but the original for me was just spot on. So I found it very interesting to slide between the original and the cover versions and find out the one that sat with me the most. So look, I hope you like the 5 that I've chosen. They're pretty diverse.
I do. I do like the list, and I think our listeners will be in for a bit of a treat later. There was one of them was new to me, and one version was new to me as well. But I did know the other one. So awesome choices there.
Thank you very much. And I've got of course, I put the challenge into a little Spotify playlist so I can listen to my prison songs whenever I want now. So thank you for introducing me to the world of penitentiary rock and blues.
Yes. The strange oddballs you find hanging out on community radio, huh? Yes. All right. Well, before we get into them, Ed, we might play a little bit more of your music first. And I've got Windswept queued up to go next. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that track?
Yeah, terrific. Well, look, I'm up at the mid-north coast of New South Wales at the moment, a place called Halliday's Point, about 4 hours north of Sydney, and I actually wrote the song here on the deck of a little old beach house. So it's a song about remembering when you were younger and going to, I guess, parties in people's backyards in and around the beach while you're on holidays, and it's a love story. People meet on the front porch and then end up in the backyard where the rest of the party is, and it's upbeat. It's one of my more fun, positive, upbeat ones. So I hope you like it. It's a summer track. We've had a typical summer this year, but let's just remember the summers that we used to have.
Yeah, that's right.
That's really what it's about.
Yeah, it's a great summer track for a rainy night here in Sunbury, but but that won't matter because it's still pretty warm outside, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy it as well. So, I just want to say thank you very much, Ed, for joining us on the line tonight. It's been good to hear from you, and it's been good to set you that little challenge. So I hope your listeners enjoy your music. Do you want to let them know where they can sort of find out more about you or get in touch with keep up with the latest news?
Yeah, thanks, Dean, for having me on and supporting, independent music from local artists. It's terrific to have that platform. You can find me at edjacksonmusic.com. That's my website, or on Facebook at facebook.com/edjacksonmusic. So, I'd love you to follow, and I'll send you back a note.
Yep, and your music's on most of the sort of the streaming services like Spotify and whatnot?
Yeah, Spotify and Apple Music. All the online digital places. So if you search Ed Jackson and Jackson Music, you'll find me there. And I'd love to hear what you think.
Fantastic. Well, I've certainly been enjoying discovering your music and listening to it a bit more. So I'm really looking forward to that album coming out later in the year.
Thanks very much, Dane.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show, Ed. And let's go out with a little bit of it. Windswept.
Cheers. Bye.